Governor Gavin Newsom issued the following statement Monday after President Trump signed an executive order to repeal birthright citizenship, saying, quote, "This is unconstitutional," end quote.
And joining us this morning in Studio B is BC professor and political analyst Ian Anderson. I want to thank you for coming in early this morning.
Of course, I wouldn't miss it.
An hour earlier than normal.
I know. So I got my coffee.
We're going to be talking about many of the things that happened yesterday during the inauguration. And just from an overall perspective, let's start with that.
Yeah.
Everything looked to go pretty smoothly.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that compared to some of the rhetoric that's happened, what we've seen in other elections, this was pretty calm.
Were you expecting any fireworks?
Yeah, you never know, right? I didn't quite expect what we saw last time, but now, it's very calm, and I think that what we saw, just people that came alongside him, he got right to work, signing executive orders. I mean, one of the nice things from a larger perspective is this is how democracy works. The voters made their decision. It's very clear he is the president. There's no more question about that. And so it was good to see that, there was this peaceful transition of power.
Let's talk about that. We just came out of a graphic showing Governor Newsom talking about the birthright citizenship that was one of his executive orders, ending that, coming out saying it's unconstitutional. And you were saying that is the one part of those executive orders that really stood out to you.
Yeah, I mean, it just very clearly, a president cannot overturn a constitutional amendment. It's pretty black and white. In order to even enact an amendment, it takes 3/4 of Congress to pass, plus it has to be adopted by a majority of the states. So, and the impact of the 14th Amendment goes way beyond just citizenship. I mean, we talk about due process. We talk about the other part of it is just ending birthright citizenship. That's for anyone. That's regardless of
legal or
illegal. And the question that the courts are going to have to decide is, okay, well, if we end that, what is the pathway? And I think that was a lot of the debate, and has been the debate with immigration, is, well, what is a pathway to citizenship? So I expect that to be challenged in the courts, and understandably, because, to be able to, that would be the same thing.
I mean, will it even make it to the courts? I mean, if it's just so blatantly, it's something that he does not have the power to do. Will it even reach the court?
It would have to, because the executive order is basically the only way a president can enact law, and so I would expect that to be challenged. I would also think that the other part of it is, okay, we suspended it, but what does that mean? Like, what is a pathway to citizenship? So it starts a conversation, but of all of the pieces that I saw, that was the one that I think will have the most trouble or most problematic going forward.
We put out on Instagram this morning. We'd like to hear what you think and with questions that you would like to ask. We're running out of time right now in this segment, but I wanted to get this in. One viewer writing, what we all saw was the issue with the Bible. The First Lady moving into position a little bit late after the oath had already been started. Is that a problem?
It's probably a faux pas. It's more ceremonial. It doesn't necessarily mean that his presidency is illegitimate now or anything like that, timing or whatever. But tradition is very important in things like this. But
he puts his right hand up. He recites the oath. He's the president.
He is the president of the United States. Maybe a little tactfully, I guess, but it happens. So not a big deal.
Ian Anderson will be with us all morning long. If you have a question for him, you can go ahead and post it to the Instagram page, mine this morning, or the stations, and we'll ask him. We'll join you in a little bit. Thanks.
Excellent. Look forward to it.